Everybody, welcome back to another episode of Believe. John St. Baptiste and Amy Truer Than True.
Hello.
Hold on one moment. Okay, cool. It just had to clean out, I think. One moment. I'm having a bit of a technical issue here. And I am sorry for keeping anybody waiting.
Looks like we're okay now. Got a picture.
Cool. So we are talking about what a lot of people, including myself, is their favorite episode thus far of this show. I mean, it's so hard for me to even rank the episodes because I think this is so well done. And I have to admit, extremely biased and connected to the source material that I do a bit of gushy fanboyism. Not gonna lie. But, yeah, this is a good one. It's probably the most linear episode of the series, too. But I am joined here with Amy Truer Than True, who is finally back.
Hello.
She's on puppy duty this week.
I am. It's not my dog. I don't like dogs, and this has just reinforced it. It's my dad's dog. And if I'd start shouting no, I'm okay. I'm not crying out for help. It's just a dog doing something he shouldn't.
Knows the word safe word.
But yeah, if I'm a bit distracted, it's because there is a small puppy creating havoc.
What they do best. So today we have anime lover Nicole here. Of course, Amy True, Beryl and Josh. Brown Holler, the one spanner that rules them all. And House Lorebridge, who also has another name. We have Bobby Junkwax. What is that, like Bobby Catalano's
It's Bobby's evil twin.
evil twin?
I don't know. Just a thought.
Oh, that sounds so whoa. I don't think I would want to witness Junkwax.
No, it doesn't sound that appealing.
It goes back to our conversation about squatter punks. I'm sure you would find some there.
Nice. Actually, it sounds like a grimy band or something, doesn't it? Grindcore or something.
18 tracks in 20-minute set. Yeah, totally. Hi, we're Junkwax. Fuck you.
Yeah. Oh dear, we love you really, Bobby.
This is a song about how oppressed I am.
Exactly.
Except my mom bought my lip service stretch jeans and my dad bought my leather jacket, so. Anyway.
So this is I hadn't even realised, because obviously I've missed 2 weeks. This was actually the penultimate episode of the season as well.
Yes.
So it's there's only one more episode, but this is definitely my favourite episode of season 1. And Essie's story was, I think, from the book as well, like my favourite out of all the Coming to America stories that we hear. Obviously, a lot of the other ones are the little animation things at the beginning of the episodes. You have like the I think it was it last week's episode when you have the people that come from Siberia.
I believe it was the week before, but yeah, I remember from the book. Those are my 2 favorite
Nanya Nini, I think the god's called. Yeah, I love that one. The Essie story. I think I really liked. I think it's because it just like spans over the whole episode. It's very long. It's a lot more in depth than those shorter ones that we get.
Yeah.
And then there's
like
the
I
whole
was saying,
thing of
it's the most linear episode of probably the whole series thus far.
yeah. It just kind of. Sorry, the dog looks like he's going to be sick. Hey. One moment. I'm just going to turn my microphone off because the dog's retching.
Okay, you go ahead and do that. While Amy is dealing with unhealthy dog, before we really dive into this episode, I just want to say, please, if you get a chance, in the comment section down below, after this episode, drop your ideas for the awesome surprise that should be coming around the first of the year. 3 words of your choice: city, real or imagined, and a date, past, present, or future. If you could do that, it would be greatly appreciated, and it will pay off, and you will probably think what we're doing with that is pretty cool, but we'll get into that another time, and I'm sure I'm going to have to plug that one more time. But, yeah, so we start off this episode in the funeral home. Are you back, Amy?
I am, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, he's actually got like an old sheet that I use when I'm dyeing my hair because he pooed on his blanket and it had to go in the washing machine. So I had to give him something else. And it's got these tassels on. They're just long, like same strips of fabric, but he really seems to like chewing them. But he kind of half swallowed one. It's just like, it's still attached to the sheet. I mean, he's not going to actually eat it. And that's why he was retching, because dogs are stupid.
Smart dogs are ridiculously smart, and the rest of them are dumb as shit.
Yes, he is very, very stupid.
Like I live 3 blocks from the police station. When my son was little, I took him up there, and the cops like showed the training that like police dogs have, and they're like freaking brilliant. I mean, absolutely brilliant. But yeah, you dumb dogs are really freaking dumb. And it usually has to do with inbreeding.
Oh, I don't think he's in. I mean, he's not a. He's a crossbreed, so he's not pedigree anything. I doubt his parents were.
I remember when I was a kid.
Is that a Warsaw accent? No, I'm not from Warsaw. North Birmingham, but definitely not Warsaw. Warsaw people are yams. I'm guessing Steve York is a UK person. Down. Not used to.
I remember when I was a kid, I had a neighbor who had a Dalmatian, and Dalmatians are probably the most inbred species of dog out there.
Really?
And it was so like moronic. It would run into the fence.
He has run into our door a couple of times because it's completely glass.
No, like if somebody was walking by their house, it would charge into the fence and then like scrape itself down the fence, barking at the person while they were like it was the most moronic animal that has ever existed.
It sounds it. Well, this little idiot keeps trying to chew the wires on my headphones.
Yeah, they have to chew on everything.
He's only a puppy, so he's probably teething. I don't need him to leave bits of his anatomy behind either. So.
Only 4 more days, right?
At least he's mostly stopped barking all night now. He knows I'm talking about him. He wants to come in.
Oh, they always do.
Come on.
Okay, let's dive into the episode. We start off with the scene in the funeral parlor. Jacqueline Avis, which I love. I love the chemistry between these two actors.
Yeah, they did. It's such a shame that that Kel's not in season 2. I hope they do bring him back for season 3. I hope that wasn't a spoiler. Shit. But yeah, they do have a really good rapport, I think. They're kind of like a little married couple. Like they know each other's quirks and stuff. Like you've got the whole thing with Mr. Ibis, his fingers. He's doing this with his hands, like his fingers are twitching because he needs to write. And it's Jaquel that points it out to him. He's like, you've got a job to do. You've got to go and write.
Yeah,
like you can tell.
And kind of like that sibling you wish you had.
Yeah.
Those storybook siblings, like. I get on well enough with my sister. My brother and I talk literally once a year, even though he lives a 15-minute drive from me. But, a combination of the two. And you really get the feeling these are two people who've been around each other for literally thousands of years. Like, they just know each other.
Are they, I'm not up on my Egyptian mythology very well. Are they actually supposed to be related within their sort of pantheon as well?
In a cousiny, inbreedy, everybody
there's lots of
everybody
incest,
kind of way.
I think. But yeah, if anybody, anyone in the chat knows much about Egyptian mythology.
Well, and Thoth is, it's interesting. All of this, these knowledge deities in a lot of Mediterranean and Middle Eastern religions, they have a lot of different backstories. I think it's a lot of just cultural crossbreeding. Like in some versions of Greek mythology, Hermes was there before the other gods. And in some versions of Greek mythology, he's Zeus' son, the more well-known ones. And on the first day he's born, he pulls his nice little trick with the with Apollo's cattle, which I was quite impressed by. If you ever get the opportunity, a really cool book called Trickster Makes This World. And it's about the anthropology of trickster gods throughout the world. It's really cool.
Well, that sounds interesting.
And I think it's quite applicable, because one of the tying traits of this book and this show is trickster gods. And I'm sorry, I totally cut you off.
No, it's okay. The dog's looking very concerned and trying to bark at his own reflection, I think. I was just having a quick Google to see if there's anything about how they relate to each other. But, yeah. That's you. It's you. He's not used to these doors. We've got double glazed back doors, like right down to the floor, and he's just not used to being able to see his own reflection in the back door. So he thinks there's another dog in the garden, but it's him. He's so stupid. I was saying about the they don't seem like, it's not like a brother relationship. I think it does definitely seem more like a little old married couple.
Yeah, or like housemates who just live together so long they.
Yeah, besties.
It would just be weird. I had a housemate who I lived with for about 6 years, and I mean, we'd go days without talking to each other just because we had different schedules and things like that. But like when he got engaged and I moved back to my house, like it was just so weird. It's like you're used to having this person around.
And then they're just not there, yeah.
By the way, this is the gin boxer shorts tennis guy who I've told you about. Oh. Okay, so I thought I had told you this. Okay, so.
You've told me about Bible verse guy.
No. But
that one's not for YouTube. I
yeah,
think.
he was not a good friend of mine. That's a private conversation. He was really weird. But no, actually, I'm not going to mention his name, but he is the city I live in. And one of the most prestigious chefs in the city I live in. And he passionately loves tennis. So much that he would take the week of Wimbledon off. And he would
Oh,
just lay in his bed in his underwear drinking gin.
that sounds
And
like
watch
fun.
tennis. Like, I don't think he even got up to shower or anything. Like, might have got up to pee once in a while.
I'm sorry, you can probably hear the dog in the background growling at himself. Just a minute, I'm going to shut him up.
Right. Sorry, this is getting a wee bit derailed, folks, but we will persevere through. Promise. So while Amy is taking care of the dog, we'll talk a bit more about how Jacqueline Ibis, like Jackal knows Ibis needs to write, is the story to write, which begs the question for the viewer: what is the story that he needs to write, and why does he need to write it? Why at this place and this time? And I think this episode is really good about flipping back and forth, because I'm sure you'll notice that, well, one of them never died, but there's another actor or actress in this case who is two different people. And by the way, I have to say the makeup on this, I was quite impressed with.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay.
Definitely his own reflection he was growling at with the dopey thing. He has a biscuit now, so he's happy. I took my headphones out, so I didn't hear what you were saying then. Something about Maker?
Oh, I was just saying, we have the story of two different timelines with two different characters, but they're kind of the same character. I mean, we know Matt Sweeney's like immortal, but the actress who plays Laura also played Essie.
Yeah.
And I was just saying the makeup was impressive. Like, as someone who comes from a family of people with red hair and lots of freckles.
Yeah, so I'm super freckly as well, but you can't really see it because of the bright light kind of shining from my computer screen. But I am very, very freckly, and like there've been occasions where freckles have been really like trendy and everybody wants them, and you can buy like these shitty transfers, or I've seen so many things like people doing makeup tutorials of how to look like freckles, and they always just look stupid. And they look like you've just got a pen and drawn dots on your face. But those actually looked really good.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, are they maybe partly natural and actually she's using foundation to cover them?
Ew,
At other times, it could be the way around. I'm not sure. And they could just darken what's already there. But yeah, they do. They actually look natural.
Look like half my freaking family.
It's only the kids that have got my freckles, and I get them from my dad. But yeah, both my girls have inherited my freckles as well.
So
apparently the dog's freaking out. Steve York's dog.
we start Essie's story at the end.
Yes.
We see Matt Sweeney when he wasn't quite so mad during one of his
lucid periods.
Which,
Yeah.
by the way, if anyone is interested, I'm quite familiar with this tale for a number of reasons. I would be happy to do a video on just the history of Matt Sweeney. If anyone would be interested, I'd be happy to.
I would.
It's kind of outside of my wheelhouse, but
it's something I read quite a bit about. when there was a very Mad Sweeney centered episode in season 2. I won't go into that too much, obviously, in case there's people that haven't watched season 2 yet. But yeah, I actually read some about his backstory, and it was really interesting. Again, I don't know a huge amount about Celtic mythology and like Irish folklore, so it's one of those things where you start reading about it and then you end up down this massive rabbit hole and sort of go, oh, that sounds interesting. And it's one of those where you just on one Wikipedia page, and then like an hour later you're still sat there reading other pages because you keep clicking all the links. It was absolutely fascinating. It looks like a popular choice in the chat. So
do what?
It looks like a popular choice in the chat. I've had a few yeses already.
Yeah, I don't know. There's so many great content creators out there who cover different mythology. Like I'd be a little apprehensive, but I could try. In the meantime, if anybody wants to check out an awesome channel for background mythology that's not handled dryly, check out Monarch's Factory. She's really cool. Also, she's an amazing D&D channel. Sorry, had to plug somebody who really impresses me.
Throwing a bit of extra nerdiness, why not?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think I'd be more than willing to do it.
Cool.
So yeah, we have that, and then it flashes right back to when Essie's like a little kid. Like she's a wee little thing.
The actress that played her as well as a little child, oh my god, her hair, so beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous hair. The colour of it was just absolutely stunning. I would kill for hair like that.
And it always blows my mind. People who don't come from either an Irish or a Greek background always think that hair color is fake.
Yeah, like properly red. I mean, my eldest Layla, her hair, she's got so many different colours in it, and it was actually a bit gingery when she was a baby. And it's kind of faded out to blonde, but she does have, like at the back, there's like a really random little patch of properly dark auburn hairs, and they're so lovely. It's like, oh, I knew all her hair was that colour, but she's properly blonde. But she has quite a few different shades of red in her hair. And my natural colour, like, I'm blonde naturally, but I have a fair bit of strawberry blonde, I suppose, rather than properly red. But yeah, I like red hair. I know everybody's a bit funny about gingers, but
well, we don't have souls.
Fair enough.
But hey, that means we can't sell them.
That is true.
Or you can pull a sneak and grab.
That's actually, speaking of souls, it's an interesting theory that I read. People are talking about, like, is Essie supposed to be an ancestor of Laura's, or a reincarnation? It's just quite an interesting thing. I was reading, like, it's the same soul but a different person.
Right, and you have that part. This is not a spoiler in the book. When Shadow's on the airplane and he has his dream, and because it shows it in the show, but they don't go quite as into detail about what's in his head.
Mm.
And he's climbing that mountain of skulls, and he knows every one of those skulls was his skull.
Mm. There's kind of a little background bit that sort of that reincarnation is a thing in this universe as such. It's possible, and it's not something that they ever delve into really in the books, how Laura and Essie might be related or linked to each other. So it would be really cool if that's something else that they do in season 3, kind of explain that link if there is one.
Now, going back to that, one of the things that I do think is interesting, just talking about Essie's background, in the book, she is Cornish.
Yeah, it's similar mythology, though, isn't it? There's a lot of crossover.
But there are differences, and I'm sure you're far more familiar with that, being much closer than I am.
Probably not. I've never been to Cornwall in my life, actually. So
it's like an hour and a half away from you.
And the rest. It's a lot further than that. I couldn't even get to London in an hour and a half. So it's pretty far.
I could if I were driving by myself, not if I were driving with a passenger.
Maybe.
We've covered this on another episode.
No, I think it's quite a long drive. Normally when we go on, if we're sort of having a holiday, a UK holiday, we would go to Wales because that's where we like to go, rather than anywhere down south. That would be considered. So I'm actually going to have a look how long it would take by car. 4 hours and 11 minutes. So yeah, it's quite a drive. It's 250 miles. So see, to you, you're looking at me like, that's no big deal. That is a big deal. That's like...
Oh no, I'm just wondering how 250 miles can take you 4 hours.
Because the roads, it's not motorway all the way there, probably.
Okay.
But again,
if I have a passenger, you have to admit that I'm a good driver when I have a passenger, outside of my very foul mouth.
Except when you get lost. Can't escape the airport.
Even then I drive well, like I drive safely.
Yes, very much. Despite me being completely freaked out by being on the wrong side of the road. So.
Yes, it was pretty funny. I think I started looking for the gas pedal a couple of times.
Yeah, it was really weird getting in the wrong side of the car. I nearly did that more than once in taxis as well. I went to the wrong side. I was like, shit, hang on. I'm not going to sit in the driver's lap. That would be weird. It's very disconcerting being on the other side of the car and then the other side of the road. It's so bizarre when you've never done that before. Hang on. Dog's just dropped his biscuit under the table. Oh, give me. Got it.
Yeah, animated lover Nicole, I agree. I do think they have the same soul. And that begs the esoteric and existential question. Did she not learn anything last time?
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, yeah. After like fourth or fifth watch through, I just sat there. I was like, oh my gosh. Like I just had this huge revelation. It's like those revelations you have when you're smoking pot.
Yeah.
You're like,
maybe.
Like the really messed up ones, like when you're like, what if Bob Ross was really a serial killer and he was just painting pictures of where he hid all the bodies?
That's a lovely thought. Oh dear.
And now you can never watch that show the same again.
That's just awful. Horrible things about nice people.
Sorry.
I'm saying in the chat about what we think's a long drive is not a long drive at all. It is when you live on a tiny little island. People in Sheffield were stunned that we drove to and from Edinburgh. Yeah, that's pretty stunning. I'd say from where I am, Sheffield's probably about halfway to Edinburgh, so it's a long way.
But yeah, so we get to the scene with little Essie, and her mom's talking to her.
Grandma, I think that's supposed to be.
Oh, is it your grandma?
Yeah.
Okay, that would make more sense. Who, by the way, is used as the same actress later in the episode also, which I think
as old SC. Yeah,
So
I
just
loved
things up
that.
rather nicely.
So we do before. Did we see the little scene with sort of Mad Sweeney in the taxi before that? Or it was no, they do
No,
the
that's a bit later.
yeah. So she's talking. Yeah, you see her sort of talking to your grandma, and her grandma's telling these stories.
Right. And then we see her as a blossoming 17-year-old, and I loved the line that was used as was it with the billowing in the wind, all 17-year-olds are beautiful, or we're all beautiful when we're 17, or something like that. I just thought that was really.
Same thing about her age. So I've got the script thing. If it says curved and billowed like the swell of the green sea, it was she who kept alive the old practice, and she who told the tales. I think it mentions how old she is there. But yeah, you see, she's working in the kitchen, obviously for a well-to-do family, and she's kind of telling all the children that are there as well the stories that she heard from her grandma and passing them on. And you see her leaving milk and bread. Hang on a sec. Sorry.
That's all right. Yeah, you milk, bread, salt. Always leave something for the little people. I actually I am pagan enough that I try to do that every night. There are times that I forget, but yeah, that was part of my upbringing. So that was something that I really kind of latched onto and understood like right away. Just because that was something I grew up with. But yeah, it's kind of lost here in America. It's very different.
It's and every time she forgets or she sort of stops doing it, bad stuff happens to her, or she ends up with bad. It's like she kind of gets she does get these sort of lucky moments, and then she gets swept away by it, and then the luck runs out as such because she stops. It's almost like paying tribute, I suppose, isn't it, to a god? I mean, they used to be gods.
Yeah.
I think sort of Mad Sweeney puts it quite well when he says that it was sort of Christianity kind of reduced them to fairies.
He's like, I used to be king, and then I was a bird.
Yeah, and then he says that so Christianity made them into fairies, and then General Mills did the rest. Just talking about being on a box of cereal as a leprechaun, because nobody sort of pays tribute to them anymore. They're kind of running out of worship, and he even touches on that towards the end of the episode when he's talking to old SC, saying that there's hardly anybody now that leaves anything out for them.
Oh God, that monologue at the end is absolutely heartbreaking, and it really, it really, I think it just explains almost everything about his character.
Yeah, and he seems a lot softer, I think, then less jaded almost.
Right.
Sort of everything that we see of him so far, kind of up to this point, in modern day, he just hates everybody. he just seems sort of permanently pissed off and unhappy, really. And then obviously with losing his lucky coin, it's just like things have got even worse for him, and he's just he's just grumpy and miserable all the time. And you see when like when they're in the prison and they're kind of having a nice conversation, and it's kind of a little bit funny, and he seems more content then. Not necessarily happy, but just those those few people that are still leaving that loaf of bread. It's like it's enough. It doesn't need hordes and hordes of worshippers. Just a few. Sorry, I'm going to have to go and sort out this little bugger again.
It's fine. Sorry, folks. Dogs happen. But yeah, so we have her telling the tales to the kids, and the young, well-to-do owner of the house is looking through the doorway, and he's falling pretty fast, and she kind of wants him to fall. And in her youth and naivety, she casts a spell. They actually tell the background behind it in the book. It was bread that he had eaten and a lock of his hair, and ties all these things up. She casts a spell to make him fall in love with her, so to speak. Which anyone who reads mythology knows how well that always works out. But she, I love when she's talking to the kids. She tells the story about walking in the moors and getting lost to deliver food to her father. And she gets lost, and then she remembers they leave out some bread, and she leaves out some bread.
No.
And she wakes up the next day, and the bread's gone, and she's right at the lighthouse that she was supposed to be at. Yeah. So did anyone have any thoughts there? Oh, okay, Brown Holler, you leave out your baking straps and still shake your hair. Yeah, it. I mean, some of us are raised that way. Some of us just think that way. I try and make it to mass as often as possible, but I always like to say I'm the most I'm the most Catholicized pagan in the past 800 years or so. Oh, and Josh, so you'll drive to Dallas and back in the same day? When I was younger, I'd do that, like a drive like that. Now that I'm older, I'd probably stay the night and then drive back. It's just, I can't sit that long. It physically hurts my body. But I can say that if you're young, hormonal, and have a radar detector and a 1984 Mazda RX-7, you can make it from Cincinnati to Dallas, or I'm sorry, Dallas to Cincinnati in 13 hours. I don't recommend doing that, but you can.
Right. Dog solved. He's in his crate now. He was trying to dig up my carpet.
Oh, that's fun.
Yes, we're not having that. I mean, at least he wasn't crapping on it, but I think he's going to settle down to sleep, so hopefully it won't be any more noise or nuisance.
Yeah,
I
animated
had to take my
electrical. I
headphones
love
out,
the
so
way.
I missed what
Oh,
you were saying.
I'm sorry.
I had to take my headphones out, so I missed what you were saying just now.
Oh, I had just been talking about her story on the moors,
Oh, yeah. I
which
really like
animated
that.
electrical points out a shot so well.
Yeah. Yeah, because you've got sort of, she's saying like about the mist, yeah, you can see like the figure walking in the mist, and she just leaves the bread on a rock. And when she wakes up in the morning, it's gone, and then she sees I think it was the lighthouse. I think when at the beginning of her story, when she's sitting sort of on top of the cliff, she mentions that her dad was a fisherman, and that's why she's sitting there, because she's watching for his boat coming back. And that's where the grandma's telling her the stories. Oh, here we are. Yeah, she says she'd wandered too far on the moors. And then when she says she remembers what her gran told her about the leprechaun, so she swallowed her hunger, took her bread, put it down on a mossy stone. And she also says that fairy folk might be small, but don't let that fool you. They can make real trouble unminded. Slightly foreshadowing of how she ends up with bad luck later on. And the I was saying about the spell as such that she casts. It's very pagan.
Yeah, it's animistic. I would even go
Yeah.
so far as to say, there are certain things. It all goes back to ritual and worship. I mean, that's what the whole series is about.
Yeah. But with doing something like that, it's like she already had the attention of the obviously just the leprechaun, but it's never mentioned. But it could be that there are other fairy folk around. But yeah, she already has their attention, and she. So yeah, she gets what she asks for because she's always been attentive to them and always sort of paid tribute to them as such. And then when she forgets is when it goes a bit wrong the first time.
Yeah.
And she's accused of stealing the necklace.
Yeah, which he had given her.
Mm-hmm.
It's a promise to marry her, but then when he comes in front of Mum,
yeah, he's not going to say that he wants to marry a servant, is he? Yeah.
What a little sissy.
Well, you
I mean,
say
yeah,
that, but
different culture, different time, but still.
not just that. I mean, he said that he was going to come back and marry her, but was he really? I mean, maybe he was just saying that so he could carry on enjoying himself while he was there. It's they don't seem like they're sort of madly in love with each other as such.
Right.
But yeah, this is her first conversation then with Matt Sweeney, because he sort of gives her a story about how he was in a pub and
Oh no,
it's
this is
just
We've Been Later, love.
is it not this bit? I thought
Yeah,
bit.
that's the second time she gets busted.
Uh,
The first time she
yes,
the necklace.
straight onto transportation, isn't she? The first time. Sorry,
Right.
you're quite right. Yeah, because they were going to hang her. And then, yeah, she gets, I think, 7 years transportation.
Yeah, which I think it's really cool that Gaiman actually made that like more of a public thing. A lot of people before this book was published didn't know about that, and that was actually really common.
Yeah. Well, you've got rid of them then, haven't you? Someone else's problem. It's not a yeah, it's certainly not unheard of, but it's what most people would associate, you know, sort of British shipping off criminals to Australia. But there's not really much mention of these ones where they were sent to other places. But yeah, it was sort of along trading routes. Obviously, the boats would go over full of people, and then they'd come back full of goods, such. So it suited their purposes fine because they were getting paid for kind of their journey over there as well to go and collect all these things. So it was kind of a win-win for the people in charge. And Perron and Josh has just said Australians probably remembered it better than we do here. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we find out she didn't stay there for very long.
Well, that's why Brown Holler lives there. She like murdered 17 people, and they gave her the option to go to Australia. Or... Sorry, Brown Holler, just had to have a little fun at your expense. I didn't tell him about the other people.
Yeah. So yeah, she pretty much gets to turn around and come straight back once she gets there. I mean, her journey there probably didn't stay quite as awful as it began, because she forms an alliance with the captain.
I'd rather ride around with a ship full of tobacco than a ship full of sick people.
Oh, well, yeah.
You're a non-smoker, and I'm sure you'd rather ride in a ship.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm sort of I say I collect dead things, it's not like diseased corpses. it's animal skulls and the like, and I'm not going to catch anything from those. So,
have you ever smelled tobacco, like fresh tobacco?
Yeah. It smells really nice.
Like not like cured or ground or anything, like the actual plant.
Oh, not like fresh leaves, but.
Oh yeah, it's actually it's a really really beautiful smell, and they have cute little flowers.
Mm. Do the flowers get used in like perfumes and stuff? Don't they?
I think so.
Yeah. So yeah, she goes back home with the captain. It's kind of, I think they refer to her as his new bride. So I think they've actually got married, and they're in London. And yeah, she's only with him for 8 weeks before he's off to go and do his thing again with taking another group of people on transportation and then coming back with tobacco or silk or whatever else.
The Atlantic trade, one of the most disturbing pieces of the history of Western civilization.
And yeah, rather than stay and enjoy, I mean, she could, if she had stayed, she could have had quite a luxurious lifestyle with the captain. And if he's off for 8 weeks at a time, frequently, she could have pretty much amused herself and done whatever she wanted to while he was away. But instead of doing that, she basically just robs his house and goes off by herself. And kind of manages to, I mean, you see her sort of taking, silver and that kind of thing. So she's probably just kind of sold all the stuff enough that she could sort of set herself up on her own. And then we see later on that she's continued to do that to to fund herself, essentially, rather than having to work.
Society labeled her a thief, so a thief she became.
Yeah. And then that's kind of like a little pause when we come back to the modern day. And they've stopped so that Salim can pray, because he does that. He prays 5 times a day. And they're having a sort of Laura's questioning him about his love for God. And he says that she can join him if she wants to, which is quite it's not something you'd expect, because it's quite I'd say generally it's sort of quite not a private thing as such, because obviously you get like a collective group worship, but for somebody to just go, oh hey, I'm this, you're not my religion at all, but hey, I'll show you how to pray and you can join in with me. It's almost a little bit odd that he's quite happy to just be like, oh no, it's cool, you come and join in and worship my God too. But I think it goes to show how it's kind of reiterating how he does feel about his religion, because he's deeply, deeply religious, and he accepts the whole weirdness such with Jin, and he's quite happy. Yeah, okay, she's dead. You're a leprechaun. That's fine. Let's go find my boyfriend, kind of. He's just
my
completely
obsession. I wouldn't call him his boyfriend.
Well, it's just that how he just completely accepts the unusual, and the fact that he is just so calm about all the stuff that he sees. Even later on, he's seen all these sort of absolutely crazy, fantastical things, and he's just like, okay. And I think that actually comes from his faith, because he's so secure in his faith.
Right.
He can just accept anything that happens in the world, because he's kind of safe in the knowledge that it's happening for a reason, and he trusts that God will look after him, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's probably the only person that we meet that is that devout. You never really see any other characters that are very so devout as I mean, there's not really any others that are overly religious.
Well, there were some, but they got shot last week.
They did. Oh, yeah, it's a shame I couldn't do last week. There was also a really cool Easter egg in last week's episode, which I don't think I'm not sure if anyone else would have picked up on it.
Unintended or unintended?
No, nothing to do with bunnies. Vulcan's house is actually the same house they used in season 3 of Hannibal, of Brian Fuller. I'm wearing a Hannibal t-shirt. Brian Fuller, who was the showrunner for all 3 seasons of Hannibal and for season 1 of American Gods. He used the same house that they'd used as Francis Dolarhyde's house in season 3.
I did not know that.
Oh, well, there you go. It's a very pretty house as well. I'm not sure if inside was the same, but yeah, outside it's definitely the same house. But yeah, Hannibal, apart from Game of Thrones, is like my obsession TV show.
I've witnessed this behavior.
Just slightly. Yeah, so there was very briefly at Con of Thrones, there was a really cool stall in the market bit that had a lot of autographed stuff, and I managed to find 2 different Hannibal ones. Spent rather a lot of money on those, because obviously you travel halfway across the globe to go to a Game of Thrones convention and then come home with merchandise from a completely different TV series. That's how I roll. Just add to my collection of Mads Mikkelsen obsession. But yeah, it was just one of those things where it was like, oh, I know that house, and got all excited about it. So I had like a deep dive nerd moment with that one.
Hey, Santivia. Welcome.
Oh.
Okay, so the white buffalo.
Yeah.
That is a real thing. They Ogla Sioux, I think it's the Ogla, either Ogla or Lakota Sioux, have had this belief forever that the white buffalo would come to eventually represent when the Sioux Nation, the Native people in general, would begin to take back America. Which one can argue that there are no real Native people to America, even Native Americans, but I'm not going to get into that huge anthropological discussion, or we'd be here next week. I've actually been reading a lot about that lately. There's evidence of people being here like 80,000 years ago, as opposed to the 12,000 years that has always been taught to us. But yeah, it's a big freaking. You want to talk about a rabbit hole?
I go down so many YouTube rabbit holes these days. Oh, I don't need to add another one.
But yeah, so the white buffalo, and of course, in a very American way, they built this, huge statue. People came to see the buffalo, and it got struck by lightning a year to the day after it was born. This is all fact. These are all things that actually happened. And I love what Mad Sweeney says. That's what happens when you put a god in a petting zoo.
Yeah, that's it's quite interesting actually that they put it that way. And yeah, while Celine and Laura's conversation's going on, Sweeny goes off to take a piss and has a one-sided chat with a bird, and he appears to understand what the bird says to him. He tells
Yeah, so I don't think it's one-sided.
Oh no, it's not. It appears that way, because the bird just calls at him, and he tells it to fuck off, and then says, "I will eat you." It really tickled me the way he says that.
Well, you got to remember the bird's a raven, and I'm sure, given his origination, that Matt Sweeney knows plenty of ravens. He's met a girl who walks around with 3 on her shoulders. It's kind of like eggs in a basket.
So, you might be able to answer this. He refers to Wednesday as a one-eyed gal. I think it's kind of like calling him saying he's a bit of pussy, like that he's got somebody else essentially or something else, and leaving messages on his behalf. I wasn't sure if that was a sort of Irish slang for something.
It's not a piece that I'm familiar with, but I my interpretation was that it pairs along with like a huckster or a grifter or someone who doesn't earn what they get. But also there's the consideration that in Old English, gal would mean a jail.
Oh yeah, I suppose obviously it's a different spelling. Obviously that's an AO. This is without GOWL. But yeah, if anybody does know what a gowl is, please do feel free to
Yeah,
drop it
actually,
in
if
the
anybody
chat.
knows Gaelic, mine is awful, and Sweeny delivers a Gaelic curse later in this episode, and I have no
Well,
idea what the fuck he said.
I have got that. Because I watch with the subtitles. You've just reminded me that I was going to actually see if I could translate that. And I forgot to do it before the show. So if
Like,
you
if
want to
anybody
kind of,
has ever seen the episode of Game of Thrones where Tyrion's trying to speak to the starving woman with her kids in in one of the countries in Essos, I think it was Marine, and his
yeah,
like that's how my Gaelic is. My Irish Gaelic is so
awful,
awful. Like,
High Valyrian.
here, I have food to eat. It's like it would come out as I want to eat your children or something.
Yeah. If you want to kind of waffle a bit more about this scene, I'm just going to type out all this rant.
Oh, and Beryl and Josh has a damn good point. Or Gaul, like the Northern European tribes. Well, the Gauls were more in France. Where I would assume that possibly a representation of Wednesday would have been worshipped, but he would be more associated with Franks, which would be northern France, and Danes, Jutes, Angles, Saxons, Swedes. One would think Finns, but like Finland is this isolated country that has nothing linguistically to do with any country around it. It's Finland's like enigmatic. I've always found it intriguing, probably because I'm such a huge Tolkien nerd. But yeah, but a Gaul. Um, hmm. I mean, I could see that. Hmm. Marilyn Josh says he wishes he could tell which is Hugin and which is Munin. Um. Well, they're memory and thought. So I would assume the one that keeps pestering Sweeny is probably Hugin, just because he's memory. I think Hugin. I don't know. I didn't take German. I took Latin. All my other languages I butchered the bloody hell out of. Especially because there's this like part of me that thinks I can speak romantic languages at least passably, but I can't. Like if it's anything outside of bathroom or like where's this place or hello, yeah, I butcher all the other romantic languages. I think I can do it, but no. My Italian's atrocious. My Portuguese is worse. My Spanish is like very mishmash of like book Spanish and uh, New World Spanish. So yeah, it's pretty bad.
I have typed all this out now. I'm not even going to try and butcher it, but it makes no fucking sense in Google Translate. Something about tarmac and evil. So I'm just going to try another translator thing to see if I can figure out what this rant was.
Well, that's okay. So unfortunately, unfortunately for himself, Sweeny lets slip that he knows that he's going to get his coin, and then he's going to the house on the rock, and then he's like, "Oh fuck," because he knows Laura's going to, like, instead of trying to be alive again, like, I love Laura's character in the show, but she just doesn't listen. Like, Shadow is not going to be interested in a corpse. Like, go get yourself resurrected. Get all that taken care of, and then go say, hey, maybe we should patch things up. And she even points this out later when she alludes to when Sweeny offers her a popsicle, and she says, well, being that my stomach is not attached to any of the other parts of my body, that would probably be a bad idea. Now, Bear Island Josh says that his favorite part of the book never made it to the show, which was when Shadow told the Raven to tell him nevermore, and the Raven said, fuck you.
That is a pretty fucking awesome bit. It's, I think you might have mentioned that when we were doing season 2.
I believe we may have. Yeah, it was just a great moment. It was very, very authentic. One of the things that Gaiman's really good at doing is balancing the otherworldly and grounded in what we call reality, and just being able to compress them together, and it works. Another author who can pull that off is Barker. I'd say Stephen King, but a lot of authors try and do that, and it's just an absolute failure. Ron Holler agreed. Yeah, that goes back to Laura's self-centeredness. She doesn't consider that Shadow would care that she's dead. Yeah. I don't think I would want to be friends with Laura. I don't. But I like her as a character because I feel like she's real and believable, if that makes sense. I think that's one of the things that the show does a hell of a lot better than the book did. Not that it was done poorly in the book. You only have so much limited time and space. But in the book, she feels like a very two-dimensional character and kind of a deus ex machina. Santivia Major, what's TWD? I like Laura on the show. I mean, I like her as a character. Like I said, I wouldn't want to go have a couple beers with her. I like her as a character.
Oh, TWD is The Walking Dead. Laurie on The Walking Dead. I don't think Laura's quite as bad as Laurie. I cannot find a translation for this rant, but I'm going to paste it into the chat. So if anybody wants to have a go. Something about tarmac and not being evil was basically the gist of what I could get, but it's quite hard to find a website that will translate Irish for you. So, and that's assuming that it was written correctly with the right accents in the right places and the like on the Amazon subtitles, because they're not necessarily 100% accurate.
Right, it's like a game of Chinese messages.
Yeah, but I have put it in the chat complete with the question marks in the right places. It's I think he's from what I can tell. I mean, it's when it's when they roll the ice cream truck and go flying out of it, and the coin falls out of Laura. And without the coin, she's dead. her eyes cloud over completely, and she just does genuinely look like a dead body. Like there's absolutely nothing. And all the stitches have come open from the autopsy incisions and the like. And I think it was this episode where we found out that he was there when she actually died.
Yes.
And he was responsible for the accident. And it's like it's come back to bite him in the ass, that he's left in the same situation. And the last time he was in that situation, he left her to die. But this time he doesn't. He actually.
He brings up the has debts to pay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why he's doing what he's doing for Wednesday, which we'll get into in a minute. By the way, the ice cream truck, I really enjoyed the scene where they decide that they want the ice cream truck. Well, first, Salim saying, "You're a terribly unpleasant being."
Yes.
And Laura's like, "Hey, our deal's good. You can go do what you want." And he just looks at Sweeny. He's like, "You're a terribly unpleasant being."
It says not a lot of people like Laura, do they? I think it's not that I don't like her. I mean, I think she's fantastic in the show. That's the thing. As a person, no, she's not very nice, but as a character, she's really, really interesting, especially because she's got so much more depth and more of a story than she did in the books. Because they've expanded it so much, it actually makes it more interesting because you don't necessarily know where her story's actually going at the moment, and after season 2 as well.
And her story just feels so much more real.
Yeah, it does. It's quite funny when they're stealing the ice cream truck as well, that the guy comes back and like says, "Oh, the boss isn't going to believe me, but unless it looks like I was robbed." And he decides he doesn't want Sweeny to punch him. He wants Laura to.
And Sweeney's like, "No, you don't."
She will kill you.
And I also love that he walks up and asks Laura what she's doing, and she's like, "Well, I've always wanted to steal a vehicle."
It's your lucky day. But I mean, to be fair, it was a logical choice though, because the cold is useful for preserving her. Oh, excuse me. I'm really tired.
I know it's later there.
It is, yeah. I probably will have to sort of hop off in about 10-15 minutes, to be honest, because I have an early start in the morning. But we've kind of skipped over another part with SC. And this is the bit that I'd mentioned earlier. She's taken to prison because she gets caught stealing lace, and that's when they know who she is then, because they said she's charged with returning from transportation.
What was the judge who she ran into?
Mm-hmm.
The judge who had sentenced her to transportation, who she ran into.
Yeah, so she's she's put in prison, and she's going to be hung this time, because they were going to hang her for theft previously before they decided on transportation. So now that she's come back from that and done the same thing again, they're like, no, that's it, we're going to hang you. And this is the scene where she's talking to Sweeny through the wall.
And they both are doomed to death. Do you see how it throws back to what Shadow's friend in prison said in the first episode about, this country's going to hell since they quit hanging people. No more gallows humor, no more gallows deals.
And yeah, there is some literal sort of gallows humour in this conversation. They have he's telling her to make sure she has a really big piss. Actually, on the gallows, like saying, you know, make sure they've got to clean up after you. I think it's so funny. I actually genuinely did think that was really, really funny that he's like, well, you know, fuck them. Just, you know, make some mess with them to clean up while you're up there. It's like some defiance, so like a middle finger. And it's so him that you think,
Oh
like,
yeah,
that's totally a thing he'd do.
either that or stuff your petticoats with gunpowder and nails.
That works. Only if they're going to burn you, though.
Well, I don't know. It would probably make your neck snap right away. So either way,
yeah.
you kind of win in that kind of situation.
Yeah. And this is when Laura, Essie, says what it is that what she really wants is just to, excuse me. She says, someone just like, you know, a kind person, a home and a tree.
Yeah.
And she's kind of telling him, she's saying, oh, you know, maybe you'd find some luck there as well, you know, if you get transported. And she mentions about the Indian lady that calling herself Susan. And she obviously wasn't called Susan, but it's like how she was able to just become someone new and start a new life there. Yes, then the warden comes up with a plan to save Essie from the gallows. So, yep. So she kind of she decides she'll just let the random prison warden get her pregnant, and then she'll avoid the gallows again. But this time she's on transportation again, and she's sentenced to life this time. So previously it was supposed to be 7 years, but this time it's like, no, you're never coming back now. We don't want you back. You can be their problem instead.
I'm back to the reincarnation theme that you had been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice over the course of this episode that Essie's, with the exception of Master Richards, right? Can't even read my own handwriting. This is what I get for like making my notes drunk at 3 a.m. With the exception of him, with the exception of him and the boy who she tried to catch, she's so apathetic during sex.
It's very like Laura.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
She's just, yeah, it's a means to an end. She's doing it with an ulterior motive, rather than for the enjoyment of it, which is what most people tend to be doing it for. But yeah, you can see she's just kind of like, yeah, and she uses it as a bargaining tool, I suppose. She uses what she has. You know, she's at the point where she's in prison. She's got nothing else that she can use to try and, you know, buy her, not her freedom, but buy her life as such.
But I'm saying, even with the little cut scenes that they have, like, you just see that apathy.
Yeah.
And it's very reflective of Laura, because, like, I don't even think it's trying to get something. It's just like, okay, this is
going through the motions.
Literally.
Yeah, Brian Hollis says, like, she wouldn't have done it if it wasn't a chance to save her life. That's quite right. And I think when she's on the ship this second time, I think that's when she kind of, she genuinely sort of seems properly like upset and remorseful almost, when she see it's very dark, and it's a very short brief scene, but you see a woman's body and a dead baby plonked on top of the body, and they're just chucked out whole. It kind of implies that she's probably another pregnant woman who was on the transportation being taken over there for whatever reason, and she's died during childbirth because no one's going to help her.
Right.
So yeah, they don't care. Chuck it overboard. It's no use to them. And obviously the same with the baby. It's just unceremoniously plonked on top of her, and they're thrown out. And that's when she looks properly upset, and she's holding her stomach, and you think, okay, this baby's, the prison warden, but it's still hers as well, and she's gonna care for it. It's not. Although what she did was a means to an end. The act of the baby is still important to her. So.
And she put that wheat piece of bread up too.
Yes, yeah, she's still leaving her tributes, and yeah, she lands on her feet as such because she finds a widow who needs a wet nurse for his baby as well. So she gets an easy job as such. She's not having to do hard labour, which is what a lot of people would have ended up doing, especially working on farms. Is they'd have been working.
I had one summer when I was 14. I worked on a farm, and it was brutal.
Yeah,
I was in amazing shape by the end of summer, but
yeah, but yeah, it's pretty hard work, and yeah, she doesn't have to do that. She gets to raise the children because that's why he chose her specifically, is because he needed the wet nurse, because his baby wouldn't have survived really without one in those days.
Well, the one thing I'm sorry to skip back, but
Mm-hmm.
Sweeney's conversation with Laura or with Essie, where I was a king once. It. Yeah, I'm definitely going to make that video, folks. Give me I'm in the middle of a move. I'm in the middle of looking for a second job. I have like a million things going on, but that video will get made, and if people like it, then maybe I'll do some other mythology videos. But yeah, Matt Sweeney was king once, and then and yeah, I delivered my balance on time. That's why he has the coin. Like, there's a story behind that.
It says about he was delivering gold to a king. I think was what he was saying.
Yeah, Essie doesn't get it. She as much of a believer she is in the old spirits and so forth. She just doesn't get it. Like, she thinks he's like cracking a joke about delivering gold to the king. Let's see, 1721. I think that would have been George III.
I know more about the history of like the Targaryen kings than I do about
the country you live in.
Actual real history. I'm not ashamed to admit that. Yeah, that's as far as history goes. Yeah,
that's hilarious.
It's entirely true. History was never ever my strong point at school. I'm absolutely terrible at it. History and geography, I'm fucking useless. I can read a map, but if you try and ask me like which countries are next to each other, I have not got a fucking clue.
You live in Europe, so like geography is forgivable because it changes every week.
Yeah. But like even like mainland Europe, if you sort of ask me, you're like, oh, well, what countries bordered these ones? I don't fucking know. I'm genuinely utterly useless when it comes to geography. Like local geography, you know, I can find my way from A to B. In the town that I've lived in my entire life, but it's not that straightforward when it comes to other places. So be very impressed that I managed to get to America all by myself.
Yeah. And oh my gosh, I had to pee forever. Please do yourself a favor if you're ever picking somebody up who's coming from another country. Like, make sure you go somewhere to go to the bathroom before you sit in the will call lot for like an hour and a half.
That's not my fault though. That's entirely down to US Customs because that was an experience.
Oh no, I'm not saying it's your fault at all. I'm saying US Customs. So I was just like,
oh, there's a very angry lady shouting at people for even thinking about touching their phones when you're going through the waiting to go through the actual like customs desk as such. Then you've got like these little areas over the side where they just, I don't know, pick people at random or if there's a particular thing that they're doing. But yeah, there's these poor people shuffling around with no shoes on and, you know, their luggage has been unpacked and you're just like, whoa, that's pretty hardcore. I had to get fingerprinted and have my photo taken just to be allowed in the country.
see, here in the States, like, if you're my age or younger, you have to they fingerprint and footprint you in the hospital when you're born.
You'd only get your fingerprints taken here if you were suspected of a crime. It's the only place it would be done, being a police station. It's just not a thing here. It's not the kind of thing that, would be held on any sort of government record other than like police databases. So it's really, really bizarre. You're like, fingerprints? Why? What have I done? You feel like you're being treated like a criminal.
Right.
Not that you are.
You're treated like a criminal from the day you're born.
Yeah. They don't tend to care quite so much when you're leaving again. It's just like a really bizarre experience because from only having travelled to Europe before, they don't give a shit. They like really, they just kind of like wave you through, like yeah, it's fine. So yeah, it was a very strange experience.
Oh, House Loorbridge said she has what might be a translation, but she found it on Reddit.
Oh, please post it.
What is it? Is brought this shit to me? It is not enough. Is it not enough that I've suffered? It is indeed. I'm not evil. I'm not.
Why can't I see it on the chat? I wonder if my chat's a bit behind.
See, this tells you how my Gaelic is. The only word I recognize is shit.
Excellent.
It's kind of like sign language. Like the only sign language I know involves ordering alcohol or getting somebody's pants off.
Fair enough. I mean, you know, priorities and all that.
Hey, I learned it in my 20s. That was all I really cared about.
I cannot see this in the.
I'm sorry.
Chat. I can't see this translation in the chat. Hang on. I'm gonna click. I think my YouTube's misbehaving. So I saw the message where it was. I saw the message that says, "I think I found a translation on Reddit," but I can't see. No, I still can't see it. So what was the translation?
What is it that brought this shit to me? Is it not enough that I have suffered? It is enough indeed. I'm not evil. I'm not.
Oh, that sounds pretty good. It makes sense at least. Not about fucking tarmac and something. I think evil was one of the words that it picked up, but yeah, something Google Translate said something about tarmac. So, yeah, it's and who do you think he's actually saying it to? Is he saying it to Wednesday? Is he just kind of shouting in general to
The universe.
the universe? Yeah. Because he's just
who
yeah,
he used to serve.
maybe.
Right before this, we're talking about how he tells Laura why he's working for Wednesday.
Because he owes a battle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, there's more than one deity that has an interest in war.
Well, there's one fewer this week than there was last week.
True. Oh, I love that whole thing again. Like I'm gutted that I had to miss last week because the stuff with Vulcan's really good, especially when he pees in the vat afterwards. I thought it was brilliant.
Pissing on his grave, yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever wonder what happened to the bullets that had his pee in as well when he said he was cursing them? Laying down a curse, you're like, wow.
I wonder if that's an Easter egg. I wonder if that's going to come out.
It hasn't so far, not noticeably anyway. I might have to hang on a second. Sorry, I thought one of the kids was up. If it's not the dog, it's one of the children.
Maybe
yeah.
all the people who work for the New Gods will start having like stormtrooper aim or something like that.
I wonder if it's worth keeping an eye on background stuff over the next couple of episodes in case there's something like a news headline or a thing in a newspaper or something. It could be something where, there might be just a little thing, I don't know, about like faulty bullets being recalled or something, right. Or randomly exploding ammunition, that kind of thing. Because it would be a shame if they didn't do something like that, really. They'd properly miss a trick if they haven't.
I've always wanted to piss on somebody's grave.
See, this, Robbie's wife pisses on his grave, doesn't she?
Yes.
What's Robbie's wife called? Audrey. Yes. Yeah, she pisses on his grave. It's I imagine it's perhaps quite satisfying if you really do genuinely hate the person. I mean, you wouldn't just piss on any grave, would you? But
no, I wouldn't randomly be like, "Oh, hey." No, it'd have to be very precious.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody dead whose grave I'd particularly like to pee on. So I can think of a few living people, but obviously, they're living. So
yeah, wait around. We'll get there eventually.
Yeah. One or two sooner rather than later wouldn't be a bad thing, but shouldn't really wish that kind of thing on other people.
I'm supposed to be the good one.
Really? I'm sure about that.
No, it was a joke. So we get back, and Essie lives out her life. I mean, she really does. She doesn't go back into a life of larceny.
No. When she has the conversation about with the guy, oh God, what's his name now?
Bye, Santivia.
Oh, someone off. Bye.
Thanks for stopping by, love.
And come back and watch the last bit so you can add some comments or something afterwards. Yes, so the guy that's bought her sentence as such, kind of, he tries to make a move on her, and she's very like, oh, you can't do that, and says he's sort of tormenting her because she has feelings for him. Do you think she really did, or was she just saying that because of an ulterior motive? And to get what she wanted.
I would like to think she did, but no, I don't.
You think she meant it?
No, I would like to think she meant it, but I don't.
She didn't. No, same here. And my lover Nicole. So I'm false nails. That's what I'm doing with my nails because I lost one earlier.
Like Diana. But she adapts to it, and like she's like, you know what? This is such a better life than what I had. This is so much better than what I saw on that fucking boat. Both of those boats.
Yeah, and I think even if there was some dishonesty there on her part, they did make each other happy. And they had a child together as well, and they sort of mention about how well their business did and everything. They were good for each other. And yeah, she did get what she wanted. She got more than one tree, didn't she? She said she wanted a home and a tree.
Yeah.
Well, she got a whole orchard, which is quite sweet.
House Lordbridge says she doesn't think it was to ensure her survival, at least to start. I think she developed some feelings for him. I think eventually, but I don't think premarital.
No, I don't. I think she did say it just because I think she sort of took advantage of the situation.
Well, there is a recurring motif throughout this episode of low-hanging fruit.
And of her using that to get what she wants. Or not necessarily get what she wants, but at least to improve her situation or prospects.
If you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need.
Yeah.
I thought there was really something to all the falling apples throughout, especially the second half of the episode.
Yeah, you gonna elaborate or?
I think it's that whole, like I said, motif about low hanging fruit. It. I mean, I like Essie a lot, but I really do. But I don't. I wouldn't consider her up until probably about 2 or 3 years into her marriage an upstanding citizen or anything like that.
Yeah, like you don't condone her actions.
Well, I condone them. She was just dumb enough to get caught.
Fair enough.
But, I love how they keep harkening back to the old mythology and legendarium. Because a week before her husband died, she heard a banshee.
Yes. I'd never clicked that before until I rewatched it, and then I was like, "Oh my god, there's a thing about banshees in a season 2 episode." And I hadn't realised when we were doing season 2 that banshees had actually been mentioned previously. It is one of those things that had just completely slipped my notice. So I'm quite happy that they mentioned that and that I'd sort of spotted it this time. but yeah, the sort of the basic mythology as such with banshees is that they would be heard when someone, like, as a warning almost that someone was going to die.
Yeah, they're harbingers of death.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that a lot of cultures all over the world have that. I mean, granted, a lot of them are tied together. They come from a Euro-Celtic background,
Yeah.
like Walkyries.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to think. The Basques have a kind of similar equivalent. I can't remember what they're called. I forgot more than I've ever learned. Oh, and by the way, for any people out there, it is not spelled Bansshee. It's Bansith. My Gaelic is awful, but my Gaelic spelling is great.
Yeah. See, I can't get my head around a lot of the correct pronunciations for Gaelic stuff.
Bear Island Josh, you're getting out of here, man. Hey, please do, if you get the opportunity, drop in the comments when you get a chance to watch this later. 3 words: city really imagined, and a date, past, present, or future, please, because I'd like to see what you have to share. It was a big surprise after the first of the year that's coming. Sorry.
Hi, Josh. Have a good week. Yeah, I was talking about like sort of the Gaelic and Irish spellings. I mean, even being so close to Ireland, sort of the slightly more complicated Irish names aren't all that common here, apart from the odd Siobhan maybe, but spelt with a BH. And I know a Saoirse as well, but there's no H in her name, and it's difficult to spell. There's a lot of vowels. No,
It's
yeah,
all a plot just to fuck with the crown. I mean, haven't you guys figured that out after like 700 years?
yeah. It's just always the pronunciations are really weird. You know, there's like B's that sound like V's and S's that are S's, but then S's that are sh sounds, and it all gets a bit confusing. I think actually in the sort of original Matt Sweeney folklore as well, like the actual name, and he's trying to read it and trying to pronounce it are interesting, shall we say. I think I've butchered the pronunciation more than once on these.
It's not as rough as Welsh pronunciation.
See, I have a little bit more understanding of Welsh stuff, I think, because it's somewhere that I've been so much, and since I was a kid, like the basics of Welsh grammar aren't quite as difficult to get your head around.
Like, that
Like,
makes sense. I mean,
I can make an educated guess slightly with Welsh. Very briefly, quite some time ago, I got a Welsh phrase book and kind of was looking into it, but I can't remember any of it now. But I know the odd random word that are things like from road signs and the like, and place names. But yeah, the trying to get Welsh pronunciations right are pretty awful as well.
So we moved back to Essie, and we see her as grandma now.
Mm-hmm.
And American kids are a bunch of fucking sissies.
Yes, she makes the little one cry, doesn't she? With a
Oh, scary Tori. Yeah, I was very disappointed by that show.
Yeah, what a wuss.
I would have told that child, I'm not angry at you. I'm just disappointed. Can't handle a scary story. But the kids don't want to hear the stories, and like Ivis points out, she kept the stories in her heart. And then we see Sweeny come up, the scene that we started this episode with. But we go back to the wreck because the wee little bunnies that keep running in front of the truck.
Yes, someone's bunnies.
I hate driving top-heavy vehicles, and that's why I'm always terrified of that happening. I mean, I have quite the lead foot, and I always feel like I have to drive like I'm driving like a school bus full of children. Anytime I'm in like an SUV or something like that, I'm like,
See,
no, I
it's
want
not
something
something
that sits like this far off the ground.
I'm quite used to double-decker buses from commuting and stuff. So like most of our like local buses, I think like buses aren't considered quite as awful here as they are for you guys. I think like getting a bus is just like a bit of a last resort, I think, isn't it?
It depends on what city you live in and what. Like the city I live in is a very car-centric city. Like it's we have a lot of suburban sprawl.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say 8 out of 10 people have to drive to work.
Yeah.
But we have these vehicles that, like, I mean, you look at some of these SUVs that we have here in the States, and it's just ridiculous how top heavy they are. It's like,
but you look at buses here, double-decker buses. So they have a you've got to go upstairs and you can sit upstairs on the second floor of them. Like that would probably really shit some people up. And my bus route into the city centre comes up over this like flyover on a dual carriageway, which probably just made no sense to anyone that's not the UK. So
I knew what you were talking about.
it's, yeah. So it's like, what would you call that? Is it like a? I'm trying to think how you'd phrase that. What it actually is.
A carriageway?
No, a dual carriageway. It's a different type of road. Like an on ramp to
Yeah, an on-ramp
a
to the
freeway,
highway.
and the roads underneath it as well. You imagine being like really high up on one of those on a double decker bus and
And you
looking
like, well,
down.
it's scrape the top.
It's yeah, but you do feel like you're going to topple over.
See, that I wouldn't have an issue with because those double-decker buses, I mean, they're never going over, what, 20, 30 miles per hour?
Or they go faster than that. And so a dual
Oh, I guess if
carriageway.
you're doing like an intercity type of commute.
Yeah, so I mean they're not they probably are speed limited, but he's probably looking more like 40 or 50. So yeah, they're going pretty, and this particular one that I go on's on a bend. So it's a route that I've been travelling like my entire life, going in and out of the city centre. But yeah, it never gets any less sort of. You don't want to look out the window, when you're going over that bit, 'cause you're just like, oh, it's a long way down.
Well, for
Especially
me,
when they're taking the corner at speed.
yeah, going around a bend like in a large vehicle like that, I just feel so I feel like it's just gonna burp.
Mm,
I like driving like low sitting, flat,
close to the road.
fast cars that
Yeah,
I don't feel uncomfortable going fast in because I feel in control of.
well, that's understandable.
I don't drive as fast as I used to when I was younger. I made some pretty unwise driving decisions. Let's leave it
Okay.
at that.
Um,
I wouldn't
yeah,
want to influence anybody to try some of the idiotic things that I did in my youth.
so the bunnies
Yes.
belong to someone we're going to meet next week,
Yes, we will.
which I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, I'm very excited about next week. I think it might be one of the best season finales I've seen on a television show.
It's very good, and it's very funny, and there's some fantastic stuff going on in that episode. And it leaves quite a cliffhanger, actually, thinking about it. How long was there between season 1 and season 2? Was it
Almost 2.5
2 years?
years.
2.5 years. Yeah, it was quite a long time. And yeah,
Yes.
they did leave it as quite a cliffhanger.
Season
So
3 has been red lit or greenlit, so I'm
mhm,
really hoping we aren't waiting another, year and a half for
2
it.
years or something. Yeah, that would suck mightily. I also hope that they're not going to have any cast members leave
Guy,
between seasons, like have to recast anybody, like they did with this one.
I thought all the recasting was well done, though.
Well, not. I mean, there was only one person that was recast, wasn't it? It's
Yeah,
just,
new media,
yeah.
which I thought actually really, the way it was done, they made it make a lot of sense.
Oh, they did. I mean, they did it brilliantly. The way it worked. It completely worked. It went perfectly with the storyline as well. It's like the lovely character that we're going to meet next week. She never came back for season 2, and I think they had planned for her to come back originally, but she didn't, which is quite disappointing. Well, she didn't in season 2. I mean, there's a chance she could come back in season 3. Who knows?
So
But
we
yeah,
end the episode with Sweeny comes and, hey, what does she say? If you're who I think you are, I have no quarrel with you.
yes.
You did me a lot
Listen,
of good turns. He's like, well, we do you a lot of bad turns. That's our nature.
yeah. It's hang on, let me get the script up. So the conversation was quite good. Oh, that's it. When he first talks to her, she's like, "Oh, you're an Irishman!" Like straight away, she's sort of so happy to hear his accent.
Right.
And then when he tells her that he's a man of the mounds, she's a bit like, "Oh,
Oh, fuck.
yeah." As he says when she says, "You've done me many a good turn," and he says, "Good and ill, we're like the wind, we blow both ways."
Yeah.
Um,
And then I honestly think his monologue about the new world, it like kind of sums up this entire series.
here we are. Now I'm here in this new world where nobody puts out ale or milk for an honest fellow or a loaf of bread come harvest time. And then he says, "It was you that brought me here, you and a few others like you, into this land with no time for magic, no place for fairies and such folk." But it's kind of, it gives the impression like he says you and a few others. You wonder, is he just her fairy as such, or is he going all over the country?
Right.
Because the stories that her grandma told her, she was very specific about leprechauns in that, but there's such a variety of fairy folk. I kind of wonder, like, is it him specifically, or is he talking about like other deities like him? Like, does he go to other people who do leave out bread and milk and stuff for him? It just kind of made me wonder, or is he sort of personal to her?
Her personal Sweeney.
Kind of, yeah,
Right. It kind of leaves that ambiguous.
yeah. And now you've said that, I'm just kind of totally thinking of changing the words to the Depeche Mode song.
No, that's exactly where I was going with that.
Which is actually quite funny for next week, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. But then
There
they
we
find
go.
her body and it's still warm.
Yeah, and she
And then
hadn't
we
finished
fade out
cleaning
on the
the apple.
lighthouse. Her last memory was being a child, which I thought was really
I love how gentle he is with her as well, because it's a very similar role to Jekyll, isn't it? To Anubis. It's like the transition between, like, he's taking her to the afterlife,
The
essentially.
psychopomp, yeah.
That's the word. And he's so sweet with her. He says, "Will you take my hand?" Like he's asking her to dance almost. And he's just like sort of very polite and formal. It's very nicely done, and it's sort of it's sweet but sad as well, because you kind of get that that's what he's there for, is because it's her time to go, and it's very touching the way he is with her, I think. Especially as he says, there have been some occasions where they have done her ill, but it all worked out in the end. Oh, we have the cat cameo. I'll swap you.
She's like, wait, you guys are almost finished? I gotta get up here.
I
I gotta step
know.
right on your bladder, Dad.
Oh, bless her. See, I'd much rather have a lovely little cat on my lap than a dog. Definitely a cat person, although the pooch has been asleep for about the past 45 minutes. So.
Brown Holler's got to get out of here, and actually, so do we. And he's got to get some
I think
rest.
we do. Yeah, it's 20 to 12 now. So.
Dealing with the dog. Yeah, I'm sorry. I figured we'd be out of here much sooner, but
It's okay.
it happens.
We know that we waffle.
But yeah, everybody, please, if you have time, leave your stuff in the comments section down below.
Mm-hmm.
If you want an example, Braun Holler actually has hers, which I really like. And this is actually like useful. There will actually be a point to all this. I'm just not telling you what it is yet. Hers is Serve Lane Neal, Sofia, Bulgaria, October 4th, 1591. So if that gives you an example of what I'm talking about, trust me, you'll find it worth it in the end. We're going to go ahead and let you go. Anybody has any last thoughts about this episode? Amy's got to get to bed, so if you would please just drop them down in the comments. I will address them in the next couple of days. And also, just let us know what you think. If you've not got to next week's episode yet, drop your predictions before we get there. And if you have, don't. So we're going to go ahead and sign out here. And in the meantime, if you would all be so kind, please believe.
Bye.